All right, Michelle Darnell, Region 2 of Washington State Libertarian Party, the largest region in Washington State, King County and Snohomish County, and that includes Seattle. First question for you, how did you get involved in the Liberty movement?
Well, basically, I sort of woke up in about 2008 with the recession, and as luck would have it, my husband at the time was a contractor and responded to a Craigslist ad for property preservation work, and that was going into these homes, these foreclosed homes, and doing the photo buckets and inspections and whatnot. At the time, we just thought that was just part of the market, just part of the real estate market. So I helped him. I went to some of the properties and stuff, and what I was finding out was, oh my gosh, what's going on here? There's 3 houses foreclosed, empty. People walk out with the shoes on their feet. So I'm sort of a curious cat. I spend about the next 6 months, 2:00 in the morning, reading about the Federal Reserve and the mortgage-backed securities and the financial, I would say, Ponzi scheme that had sort of led to this crash. And I ran across Occupy Wall Street, and through Occupy Wall Street, there was this young kid at Occupy Wall Street talking about Ron Paul and libertarian principles. And at the time, I was a Republican, but I would say, I was a Republican, yet I saw things weren't exactly the way I had originally thought they were. So he introduced me to libertarianism, and then I was in Island County, right where, well, you were in Island County too, I believe. And I stumbled into a county caucus, and my very first speaking was just given a little 1 minute on how people in the straw poll needed to vote for Ron. And I got elected as a delegate for Ron that year. And then, slowly got more and more involved in politics and ran for office, I think 3 times now, and started the county party.
Good times, good times. So in Seattle, I'm here visiting friends and family and coming to this. Things have changed since I was last out here. A lot more homelessness, I would say, drug abuse, I believe unemployment. I have my own theories about how government has played a part in that, at least as far as regulation, minimum wage, of course, the war on drugs. But I would love to hear, any thoughts you may have on the current situation in Seattle and neighboring areas.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely correct. We are in crisis here in Seattle. And I'll tell you, remember, I came from the foreclosure side of things. People were being pushed out of home ownership into the rental market, and, that's going to drive up rent. So I do think one element of all of this is sort of a delayed consequence of the recession. Another element, obviously, is the growth in the tech industry has brought a lot of people into the area very quickly. Our government policy, which I want to back up here, we don't have a drug and alcohol or a homeless issue. We have a government problem here in Washington State and King County. And I'll tell you, Seattle-style Democrats have metastasized right on into Olympia. So we're going to see the problems we have in Seattle sort of spread. It's going to be a big problem. But anyway, so, initially, I remember when I was running for office, I was saying, we've got a real problem coming up here. We've got tents popping up like mushrooms, and we've got empty homes all over the state, and there was no response to that. Well, I take it back. There was a response. We have what I would call a homelessness industrial complex here in Seattle, where, remember I said it's the government is the problem here, where we have spent millions and millions of dollars solving this housing problem. But we haven't addressed the contributing, factors. Remember the foreclosure issue being one of them, the rapid growth and supply not meeting up with demand, because we have a lot of zoning issues, occupancy requirements, the property taxes that are increasing, increasing the cost of rent. So we have a supply and demand problem, and we've just had so many people come into the area. And government's response, well, of course, is just to toss money at it. And, I have a friend, Dave Preston, with Safe Seattle. He's been following this for quite a while, and he's really following the money trail, and we do. I mean, we're throwing millions of dollars at quasi-charitable organizations. The money isn't making it to where it needs to make it into transitional housing to get these people up and out of homelessness. And then, of course, you have the opioid problem. And, so I guess the main point I want to make is that I've seen this problem be politicized. You have the left wanting to respond one way and you have the right wanting to respond the other. I think as libertarians, we need to apply some love, logic, and liberty to this and look at all of the different elements. We need a comprehensive approach for addressing this crisis. And it's frankly, it's not any one element. We have to look at, all of it. So, yeah, so that's, I don't know if you saw the documentary just a few weeks ago, Seattle is dying.
Yes.
It's tragic.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is just throwing money at this and raising taxes wherever we can, whereby making the cost of living even higher for people, raising the minimum wage, making it even harder for people to find a job, doesn't seem to be helping.
No, it's making the problem significantly worse. I mean, we raise the minimum wage. Well, you raise the minimum wage, then you're going to raise, the costs and raise the pricing. And, we're already starting to see the aftermath of that. I've talked to business owner. I talked to a guy with Little Caesars, had a Little Caesar franchise in Seattle. He said, you know what, I can't keep the doors open. So, his employees are now, unemployed. So, I mean, libertarians know all this stuff. I mean, anybody who's watching this, I'm preaching to the choir here. But Seattle and King County and Washington State are a case in point. Where you are seeing the devastation caused by big government, more regulation, and taxation. Juxtapose that to, let's say, Houston, Texas, where Houston, Texas has had a 51% decline in homelessness since 2012. So, just compare and contrast.
Well, we're about 7 minutes in. Any closing thoughts if you would like? Okay.
Closing thoughts. Remind me who I'm talking to. Just
general audience. It is probably going to go out to the Libertarian Party of Kansas and anyone who happens to be watching on my YouTube channel. Anyone who's interested in liberty, hopefully.
Well, I guess my main message would be that we be the change. I was sort of struck with that 2008. I realized there was a problem. You dive in. I'm a girl from Ferndale. I don't have the pedigree, but you know what? I've been able to be effective. And the way you're effective is you get in there and you harness the power of do, and you touch lives and you grow your network, and one by one, you can change the world.
Fantastic. Michelle Darnell, Libertarian Party, Washington State. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dad. Appreciate it.